This is my review of the Gerber Evo Jr. Gerber Evo Jr. is available at most retailers for about $19. We'll go over some of the basic specs. The overall length of this knife is only 3.6 inches, which makes it a very small knife. The width on it is only a ½ inch, so it fits nicely in the pocket. Blade length on the knife is 2.75 inches, or 2 3/4. Unfortunately, Gerber does not advertise the type of steel used. Personally, I found it to be a rather soft steel. I'm guessing it's something along the lines of a 440A or similar. The overall weight of this knife is 1.8 ounces, and you combine that with a very small size and slim build, and it makes a very good EDC knife. Another thing that I like about this knife is the fact the pocket clip is built for low profile. If you look at it, you'll see the pocket clip actually comes up to the same level of the knife, and therefore when you put it in your pocket, nothing protrudes. So it's a very nice knife for EDC purposes. My biggest complaint as far as this knife is concerned is the grind that's used on it. It is a flat saber grind blade, which means that the grind begins halfway up the blade itself and it tapers drastically down towards the tip. Now, the problem with that is it makes for a very wide edge. Over time, as you sharpen this knife and you remove material from that edge, working your way further up that blade, it's going to become thicker and thicker. Personally, I prefer a hollow ground blade like that found on, say, the Kershaw Skyline or any number of other knives. This makes for a very strong blade, but, you know, when something as small as this, where I'm not going to be using it for anything too heavy, I really find it's overkill. And like I say, I like a nice little slicing knife for an EDC. It is a liner lock, and it does function very well, locks up very solid. My only complaint there is that the, I don't know if you want to call it jimping or whatever, on this lock is very sharp, and it will tear up your thumb over time. The blade can be deployed either using ambidextrous thumb studs or using the flipper, which functions very well. Now, this knife uses nylon pivot washers, and despite that, it's a very smooth opening knife. I really don't have any complaints in that regard. One thing I did neglect to mention about this pocket clip is it is not positionable. In other words, what you see is what you get. You can't move it from tip up to tip down or vice versa, and you can't move it for left-hand carry. I suppose you could probably drill it and tap it and make it that way, but realistically speaking, for a $19 knife, it's not something I'm going to sit there and screw with, to be honest with you. Now, one of the things you may want to look into on the forums is there's been some controversy over this knife, and that many people believe that Gerber basically stole this design from CRKT and the designer, Kit Carson. That may or may not be the case. Unfortunately, I don't have anything proving one way or the other. I'll leave that up to you to determine. But that may sway you away from this and towards the M16. If you do go for the M16, understand that the blade is pretty much the same. One nice thing about the M16 is there are a couple different profiles you can get as far as the blade shape is concerned, and therefore the cutting edge will vary from one model to the next. The size is going to be about the same with the M16. A couple little minor pet peeves that I have with the M16 as opposed to the Gerber. They use jimping, or I guess a crosshatch, on the thumb studs, the pivot pin, and that makes it a little abrasive on the pockets. Additionally, the pocket clip itself on the M16 is mounted lower, therefore more of the knife will protrude from the pocket. The blade steel on the CRKT is much better in my opinion. It is an AUS 8. Not the greatest heat treat on it, but it is still better than what I found on the Gerber. The Gerber just doesn't seem to hold the edge as well as I would like. Anyhow, that's been my review of the Gerber Evo Jr. Hope you found it to be informative. Have a good day.